All right, good morning, guys. Happy Monday. I'm glad you're here with me today. We are continuing on with our Unit 9, but today we're looking at factored form. So we've done standard form and how standard form helps us see all these different parts to our parabola, but now we're going to be looking at, well, what if they give it to us in factored form? Now, if you watched last week, the last video actually, was over how to find the x-intercepts. We use factored form to find our x-intercepts. So for today, let's make sure you have paper, pencil, and Desmos opened up, and we'll go ahead and get started. We have a try this off to the side here, and we don't need Desmos right now, so I'm just going to zoom in on my try this. So we need to solve. We've got two equations, x plus 8 equals 0 and 2x minus 5 equals 0. Go ahead, try and solve these on your own. My bad. Here we go. X plus 8 equals 0 and 2x minus 5. About another 15 seconds. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's take a look. Let's look at number 1. We have x plus 8. We want x by itself. So to get x by itself, we have to do the opposite of plus 8, which is minus 8. What I do to one side, I do to the other. So these two 8s right here are going to cancel out, and I'm just left with x on this side of the equal sign. I have equals negative 8. Now let's look at number 2, 2x minus 5. I want x by itself. So I have to add 5 to both sides first. And I'm left with 2x on this side equals 5. Now what do I do to get x by itself? Divide by 2 to both sides. X equals 5 halves, or 2.5. All right, these are important, this refresher of solving equations, because we've talked about how if it looks something like this, we could easily say our x-intercept is negative 8. And when we look at something like this, we have to put opposite and make sure we divide it out. So we set these equal to 0, our factored form, each side, both parts, equal to 0 to find our x-intercepts. Let's look at a few other things that factor form tells us about. We're going to keep zooming over. All right, so factored form, that was weird. There we go. Factored form is one way to write a quadratic equation. Quadratic means squared, so it means we're going to have a variable squared. So it looks at this form. This is what it looks like. Y equals x minus r times x minus s. This is factored form. So remember, standard form is that ax squared plus bx plus c. Well, this is standard, so we're now factoring out this ax squared plus bx plus c, and we're getting x minus r, x minus s. So instead of our ABC, we have r and s now. Our minimum and maximum is going to be found by the negative sign in front of the parentheses of the parabola. So we'll be looking right here, right in front of the parentheses, if it's a positive or negative. If it's a positive, it's going to open up. If it's a negative, we're going to open down. Okay? So if there's a negative, it means it's opening down and we have a maximum. If there's a positive, it opens up and we have a minimum. Next, what we do is for our x-intercepts. We find our x-intercepts, I was talking about how sometimes we can do the trick of finding the opposite of our r and s values. So these guys right here, our r and our s. But basically what we do is we set x minus r equal to 0 and x minus s equal to 0. And we solve and we can find what x equals to find our x-intercepts. Now the only really tricky one for finding our y-intercept, where we cross that y-axis, it's super easy but can be tricky, is multiply our r and s values. So we would multiply r times s, but we have to look at the negative in front. If we have the negative in front, we've got to include the negative times our r and s values. Okay? So let's go ahead, let's just go through a few problems and we'll figure it out and check with Desmos. Here is number 1. So we have y equals x plus 6, x minus 2. Is there a positive or negative in front of the parentheses? A positive. So that means we are opening up. Do we have a minimum or a maximum? A maximum. Easy stuff. I've got to sneeze. Sorry, guys. We have a minimum. Okay, let's look at our y-intercept. Means we're going to take this value times this value. 6 times negative 2. Y-intercept means x is 0, and we're going to have 6 times negative 2, which is negative 12. Do we have a negative in front of the parentheses right here? No, so it will stay negative 12. 0, negative 12. Our x-intercepts means that x is a number, y is 0, x is a number, y is 0. But we've got to set it up. We're going to set it up down below. Because we've got to take this guy, x plus 6 equals 0, and find what x is. And we've got to take this guy, x minus 2, and equal to 0, and find what x is to find both of our x-intercepts. X plus 6 equals 0. That means we've got to subtract 6 from both sides, and x equals negative 6. So negative 6, 0 is one of our x-intercepts. Now for the yellow one, we have to add 2 to both sides, and we get x equals 2. That means our other x-intercept is 2, 0. Okay, I know that was a lot and we went through it kind of fast. We're going to keep practicing. We've got 6 to do total. All right. All we need to look at is the number in front. If there's a negative in front, that means we open up or we open down. That negative or not negative in front will tell us that. Our y-intercept is going to be the negative in front times the r value and s value. So the negative in front, if there is one, there isn't one here. So 6 times negative 12. And we just have to remember y-intercept means x is 0. And our x-intercepts means we just take our two factors and we solve them. We set them equal to 0 and solve. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at number 2. Oh, actually, we got to check with Desmos, right? Oh my goodness. So we type this into Desmos, y equals x plus 6, x minus 2. Don't forget your parentheses. Those are very important. All right, so let's check. We have a minimum. We are opening up. Our y-intercept is at 0, negative 12, and our x-intercepts negative 6, 0, and 2, 0. Nice job. Let's go ahead and work on our next one. Number 2. Guys, I have this like tickle in my throat. I'm going to guess it's from talking so much. All right, y equals negative x minus 11, x minus 1. Do I have a negative in front? I sure do. So is it opening up or opening down? It will open down. Do I have a minimum or a maximum? I have a maximum, so let's write maximum. Maximum. Okay, this is where it's tricky. Our y-intercept means x is 0 and y is a number. That y value is negative 11 times negative 1 times the negative in front. So what is that? Negative times negative 11 times negative 1. Negative 11 times negative 1 is a positive 11 times a negative is a negative 11. So this is going to be a negative 11. Okay, last are x-intercepts. X-intercepts means x is a number, y is 0. X is a number, y is 0. How do we find that x value? We take our factors and we set them equal to 0. So we have x minus 1 equals 0. And we're going to have x minus 11. Oh, why did I write equals 11? Oh my goodness, Woods. Turn on your brain. Your brain is not on. X minus 11 equals 0. So let's solve the first one, the one in blue. X minus 11 equals 0. How do we get x by itself? We add 11 to both sides. So we get x equals 11. So 11 is one of my x-intercepts. I've got to solve the other one. I add 1 to both sides, and I get x equals 1. So far, I found I have a maximum because it opens down. My y-intercept is at negative 0, negative 11, and my x-intercepts are at 11, 0, and 1, 0. Let's go ahead and check on Desmos, see if we got that right. Y equals negative parentheses x minus 11 parentheses x minus 1. Okay, let's shrink it. Okay, it opens down, so I have a maximum. My y-intercept, 0, negative 11, and let's check our x-intercepts, 1, 0, and 11, 0. We did it, guys. So maybe now you could even start thinking about what form do you like more? Do you like standard form or factored form? Just something to think about. Okay, we've got 4 more to do. Let's try and crank them out. Here we go, number 3. Go ahead, see if you can determine if this is a minimum or a maximum by yourself. All right, do we have a negative in front? Yes, we do. Does negative mean open up or open down? Open down. So that means we're going to have a maximum. Y-intercept means x is 0 and y is a number. To get that y number, we multiply r times s. What's r? 3. And what's s? 9. And what do I also have to multiply by? The negative in front. So let's see. 3 times 9 is 27 times negative 27. Ooh, that was a weird 7, but a 7 nonetheless. I'll make it prettier. Negative 27. There we go. Okay, now our x-intercepts. That means x is a number, y is 0. X is a number, y is 0. How do we find those x values? We take our factors and we set them equal to 0. X plus 3 equals 0. And our other factor here, x plus 9 equals 0. Okay, let's solve. See if you can find your x-intercepts. All right, for the first one in blue, I have x plus 3, and I want x by itself. So I subtract 3 from both sides, and I get x equals negative 3. So my first one is negative 3. My other one, I have x plus 9 equals 0. I subtract 9 from both sides, and I get x equals negative 9. So my other one is negative 9. How do you think we did? Think we're okay? Let's double check with Desmos. Desmos knows all the answers. Almost all. Not quite. X plus 9. Y equals negative parenthesis x plus 3 parenthesis x plus 9 parenthesis. Okay, here is my parabola. Does it have a maximum? Yep. My y-intercept is at 0, negative 27. Yep. My x-intercepts are negative 9, 0, and negative 3, 0. Yep. We did it. Nice job. So factored form is easier when we're looking for just our intercepts and our maximum, minimum. Factor form works out super easy doing it that way. We'll be practicing more this week on what factored form teaches us and tells us. Okay, let's look at number 4. Number 4, it starts to get tricky. Why is number 4 trickier? Because we have 3x plus 6 and x minus 2. So we have a coefficient as a part of our factors. That 3 is a coefficient, a number in front of our variable. But we can do this all the same. So let's see. Do I have a positive or a negative in front? Is there a negative in front of that parenthesis? No. So it's positive. If it doesn't have a negative, it's positive. So does positive open up or open down? Opens up. So are we going to have a minimum or a maximum? A minimum. So let's write that out. Our y-intercept is x is a 0 and y is a number. So this isn't going to change. Even though we have a 3 in front of our x, our y-intercept doesn't change. We still take our r times our s times the negative in front if there is one, which we don't have one this time. So we have 6 times negative 2, which is negative 12. And that's it. But here's where we're going to change. So x-intercepts means x is 0 and y is a number. When we set up our x-intercepts, we've got to be very careful now, because we're going to have this guy as normal, so we just write x minus 2 equals 0. But this guy is a little different than what we've been doing. So this is 3x plus 6 equals 0. this is different because we have that 3 in front of our x. So we've got to do a little bit more calculating, a little bit more solving for our equation. So let's go ahead and let's try the blue one first. We've got 3x plus 6 equals 0. We want to get x by itself. To do that, we have to move everything away from x. So we've got to move the things that are furthest away first. That 3 is holding hands with x, so they're right there together. So we've got to move the 6. How do we move plus 6? We do the opposite. We minus 6 from both sides of the equal sign. So we're left with 3x on this side equals negative 6. Now we want that 3 to go away, so x is by itself. To get the 3 to go away, it's multiplying, so what's the opposite? Divide. We're going to divide by 3 to both sides, and we get x equals negative 2. So negative 2 is one of our x-intercepts. Now we can solve the yellow one just like we always have. Add 2 to both sides. We get x equals positive 2. Okay, let's go ahead plug this into Desmos just to check that we are right. So let's type y equals parentheses 3x plus 6 parentheses x minus 2. So here is my parabola. My y-intercept is at 0, negative 12. It opens up, so it is a minimum. I skipped that part. It is a minimum. My y-intercept is 0, negative 12. And let's check out our x-intercepts. Negative 2, 0, and 2, 0. So was it really that much different? No. We did the same thing. We followed the same steps, and we're able to still get our answer. Okay, let's go ahead and try number 5. Number 5 is similar. We're doing some of the same stuff. So let's first look. Minimum or maximum? Do I have a positive or a negative in front? I have a negative in front, so that means we're opening down. I have a maximum. Y-intercept means x is 0 and y is a number. I do the same things. Negative 8 times negative 1 times there's a negative in front. Negative 8 times negative 1 is positive 8 times negative 8. So we have negative times a negative times a negative. 3 negatives means negative. Negative times a negative becomes a 2 negatives become positive, and then we have one more negative. Just ignore me. Not really, but hopefully that makes sense. Negative 8 times negative 1 becomes positive 8 times one more negative. Okay, our x-intercepts means x is a number and y is a 0. X is a number, y is 0. How do we find our x-intercepts? We set these guys equal to 0. So 2x minus 8 equals 0. And 3x minus 1 equals 0. All right, this time you have 2 equations with coefficients that you've got to solve. So go ahead, try to solve the one in blue first. What's the first step? Add 8 to both sides. 2x equals 8. Now what? We want to get rid of that multiplication, so we're going to divide by 2 to both sides. We can get x equals 4. So one of our x-intercepts is 4, 0. All right, let's try this other one. You might get stuck on this one, and that's okay. 3x minus 1 equals 0. We want to get rid of that minus 1 first because it's the furthest away. So we add 1 to both sides, and we get 3x equals 1. Now what? Divide by 3, and we get x equals, this is a fraction. We can leave it as a fraction, 1/3, or we could type a decimal of 0.33, whatever you get on your it is 0.33, which is what you get on your calculator. But I like fractions better, so I'm going to write 1/3. That way I don't have 0.33333333 going on forever, so I just write my fraction 1/3. Decimals will probably show us a decimal, though. They'll probably have 0.3333. But let's check. So let's type this in. Y equals negative 2x minus 8 times 3x minus 1. All right, here is my parabola. Does it have a maximum? Yes. Is my y-intercept at -8? 0, -8. Yep. Are my x-intercepts at 4, 0 and 1/3, 0? Yes, remember 1/3 is the same as 0.3330. Okay? 1/3 is the same as 0.33. So the yellow is the same as 0.33. Did we get them all? Yes, we sure did. Do you think you could try one on your own? All by yourself? Completely done? Try number 6. Try number 6 completely on your own, and I'll go through and solve it after about 30 seconds to a minute. Good luck. You can do it. I know you can. You don't even need luck. You've got smarts. Keep going, and then I will start doing some work. About another 30 seconds. All right, if you're not done, keep working. Try to beat me and then check your answers with me, okay? All right, I'm gonna start. Minimum or maximum? Well, I don't have a negative in front, so that means it's positive and it's opening up. I have got a minimum. My y-intercept means x is 0 and y is r times s. -12 times -7. 2 negatives make a positive 84. My x-intercepts means x is a number, y is 0, x is a number, y is 0. And I would solve that by setting x minus 12 equals 0 and 9x minus 7 equals 0. I'm probably going to get a fraction, and that's okay. For this first one, I would solve it and I would add 12 to both sides, and I get x equals 12. So 12, 0 is one of my intercepts. And I add 7 to both sides over here, and I get 9x equals 7 divide by 9, x equals 7 over 9, which as a decimal is 0.77, which I'm going to round 0.778 or 0.78. I'm going to write 0.78 right here because it's only two numbers. I'm going to check with Desmos to make sure I got it all right. Y equals x minus 12, 9x minus 7. Ugh. Zoom out so I can see. All right. I have a minimum. My y-intercept is 0.84 and my x-intercepts are 0.778 and 12.0. Nice job, guys. I hope to see you tomorrow. Keep working, keep practicing. You are just doing some instruction today, so make sure to watch some videos, and I hope you have a marvelous Monday. Bye!